This is the Nomadic Traveler Podcast. Welcome to Nomadic Traveler Podcast. I am your host, Jason, and our lovely and wonderful co-host is here as always, Miss Nicole.
Hey!
And we have a wonderful young lady on today named Justine Marshall.
You guys, she's amazing and
She's really
so
cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Such a sweetheart.
So she talks to us a lot about being somewhat of a minimalist, camping, how she really extends her life through like making camping her home.
Yeah, she is a true minimalist. If you're interested in that at all, she's going to give you a great definition. I think she explained it like the best I've ever heard it.
Yeah,
Don't you think?
she does a very good job with the minimalism and explaining what it is and how to do it. And
she also talks about some really cheap and inexpensive places to camp, which is pretty interesting. A lot of camping apps she gives us too.
She picks up, we pick up a ton of really good apps. She tells us how she found a place to shower through, what was it, Tinder?
Bumble.
Bumble. She uses Bumble to find a place to get a shower when she's out traveling and she doesn't have a place to shower.
Which to me is the best use of a dating app.
Of Bumble ever, yes. So she tells us about the dirt, all trails, boondocking, freecampsites.net. I don't know, there's tons of them. Coolworks.com. There's a ton of them
All
she mentions
stays.
during the show,
Yeah, she's got it going on.
So, all right. Well, without further ado, we're going to get to our, what is she, an environmental scientist and a budget camper.
Environmental specialist. Yep, that. Environmental
Scientist / budget camper.
Yeah.
All right. Up
Awesome.
next, Justine Marshall. All right, we'd like to welcome Justine Marshall to the show today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
We're doing very well today. We're super excited to have you.
We're going to learn about hiking.
Right?
There we go.
Alright.
Threw it in there. I'm so excited. Yes. Thank you for coming on and being able to be flexible with us. I love it.
Oh, you're welcome. I've been excited all week for this.
Oh, yay. That's awesome. Yeah. So tell us kind of like a little bit about you and kind of how you got started traveling.
Oh, so I remember graduating from high school and I wanted to be a flight attendant. But I won this national scholarship and I was the first person in my family to go to college. So everyone's like, you don't want to go to college, you want to go be a flight attendant. And I said, yes, I do. Well, that didn't go over very well with any of my teachers, my parents. So I went off to college. I quit after 3 weeks.
Nice.
Yes. Smart choice.
I moved to New Hampshire and married my boyfriend who was in the Navy because I really wanted to travel. And obviously I was in love. And then we had a baby together.
Oh.
And then we ended up moving back to Nebraska. And we went our separate ways and co-parented her. And I was lucky enough to go back to college when I was 24. And I was studying environmental science because I've always had a passion for nature. I remember in 4th grade, I checked out my teacher said I needed to check out some nonfiction books. I used to win reading contests. I was a pretty big nerd. And I was reading about deforestation, species loss. And I was outraged. So I got all my classmates to help me write letters to Greenpeace and the Sierra Club.
Nice.
And I got back letters like, yeah, awesome. Give us money. We'll solve all these problems. I'm like, I'm 10. I don't have any money. So I kind of just forgot about it until I went back to school. I was studying marketing originally. And then I took this environmental science class. And my teacher was just so engaging. I actually switched my major to environmental science. And then I graduated and got a job as an environmental scientist working in the field. And when I was in college, because I went to college late, a lot of my friends had already established careers, and I was watching them start traveling, and I really wanted to join on their trips. So a few times I booked the flight, I booked the hotel, I went and did all the touristy things with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would come back from these trips and I felt stressed. I had spent all this money. I mean, I was in college, so I was putting these trips on credit cards. And I just thought to myself, this isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like I quit traveling and then I was working for the Omaha Stormwater Department and I started seeing like bank representatives come and they'd hang up flyers to get loans to go on vacation. And I just thought to myself, I don't ever want to be in the position where I have to take out a loan. So at
Right.
that point in my mind, traveling just wasn't accessible to me. It wasn't something that the average everyday person could do. To me, I thought you had to go get like a loan to go on vacation. This is what I
Mm-hmm.
was seeing from like my coworkers and my friends. And I was starting to see my friends go into debt too from like trying to live this Instagram life, like you work 40, 50 hours a week and then you take your 2 weeks off and you want to like live it to the most. And I just didn't want any of that. And then I met this girl, Jamie. She worked for the Marriott Hotel and she'd been to like maybe 50 countries. And that was the first time I really learned that you could travel, like you could make your job traveling. And she was in charge of this meetup group called the Tourism and Travel Culture Club. And they would meet
Mm.
up once a month and go to different restaurants and like try different countries' foods and stuff. So that was like my first taste of seeing like a different way to travel. And then, so I graduated college. I ended up moving to Wisconsin to be closer to my daughter so I could co-parent with my ex-husband better. And working as a field scientist, I absolutely loved it. I would be out on the road anywhere from like an overnight stay up to like a month where I'd be on the road, overseeing drilling rigs, sampling, cleaning up contaminated groundwater and soil. I would clean up leaking pipelines. But I was like every single night I was staying in a different hotel, and that got really stressful. And I began to really not like traveling for work because you're just
Mm.
constantly checking in and out of hotel rooms. You're working long days. It's just exhausting. So then in 2017, this girl, Kat, I had met her on a road trip when I was 23. We always said we were going to go to the Grand Canyon together. And
Nice.
then one of my friends got married, and I was in Omaha, Nebraska. And Kat, she's been abroad for like 6 years, just traveling and working abroad. And it just like, it worked out perfectly that we got to go on this span of 2 weeks. We went on this road trip together. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Like, she's like the first person that showed me like budget travel.
Yeah.
Like, I knew you could travel for a job, but I didn't know you could like travel cheaply. We were sleeping in the back of her car. She had a little Honda Acura with her little dog. So there's
Nice.
two girls like in this tiny little car sleeping on the road together for 2 weeks. And the places we went and the things we saw and the people we met were just extraordinary. And I was like, and at the end of the trip, I think okay, so we were on the road for 2 weeks and we drove all over. We saw so many national parks. We hiked secret slot canyons that locals told us about. It was just so cool. Like one day I showered under this well spigot that she pumped.
Wow. That's
Like it was
awesome.
just so free and fun. I didn't want my phone was on airplane mode most of the time too, and we were just like so in the moment. And it was really hard for me to go back to work after that experience because I had seen this completely different life that Kat had been living for I think 6 or 7 years at that point. And then I realized at the end of this 2 week trip, like we maybe spent $400.
Wow.
The only thing we spent money was gas and food, well, like each. And then we did like a few things here and there, but they were like just activities, and it was really fun.
Wow. I'm
So
trying to travel with Kat.
Right.
Where's she at?
Where do we sign up for that?
she, oh my God, oh you guys should get her on the show. She's amazing.
That'd be awesome.
But then I went back to work, and then I was working my 12 to 16-hour field days. It started to get really difficult to take time off. I didn't have as much freedom with my schedule, and I started to get really burned out. One night, I just could not drive an hour to my hotel room, so I slept in my field truck because I remembered that road trip. And then I woke up the next morning, and I woke up at dawn, and I went for a little hike before work, and I was just like blown away. I was like, "Holy, okay, this amazing experience I had, I can like bring this into my daily life
Yeah.
because I'm out on the road. I I kept getting like bed bug bites when I was staying at hotels, and I was just over it. So I didn't tell my boss I was camping because I didn't want him to tell me I couldn't. So I just did it. And then,
Like you camped for your work instead of staying at a hotel?
yeah, I went and bought a tent.
Awesome.
After that night, just sleeping in my field truck, I'm just like, I'm just gonna go buy a tent because I would work like a 12 to 15 hour day supervising a drill crew, and then I would just want to be outside and hiking and exploring. Because after that road trip, I realized, well, I mean, I already knew how much I liked hiking and camping, but I realized if I'm gonna be working all of the time, I'm gonna like make it as much as a fun experience as possible.
For sure.
So then, yeah, and then I don't know. Do you guys have any questions? I'm just
No, no,
gonna.
No, keep
we're letting you
going.
do your thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
this is
listening.
good.
Okay. So then I was out on the road for 3 weeks, and I was just like doing my thing. I was like having the time of my life. I was out in western Nebraska, and I grew up in Nebraska. I hadn't ever really explored it though, but western Nebraska is amazing. There's a wildcat state park out by Shadron. There's Toadstool Geologic Park. There's Scottsbluff National Monument. So I
That's
knew I
awesome.
really wanted to hike it. So I went to my cousin's wedding. I took the field trip with me, and then I made my way from Scotia, Nebraska, which is like in central Nebraska,
Mhm,
all the way out to like the Western Panhandle.
mhm.
And I get there, and they've shut the monument down because it closes at dusk. But I see all these people out there, and I walk over and I said, "Hey, what's going on? I really want to hike this." And they said, "Oh, well, we're having our annual relay race to the top. If you want to sign up for it, you can hike it." So I signed up for this relay race, and we just like 10 minutes later, we all take off and we run up this monument. And I'm like talking on the phone to my friend, I'm snapping photos, and all these people are just like running by me. So then I get to the top and I like wander around, I'm looking at stuff, and I'm like, this is really cool. And then I hop on the shuttle and I go back down, and I hop in my field truck to leave to go find a camping spot. And then one of the race coordinators was like, wait, where are you going? You won a medal. I'm like, what?
What?
So I get out of my field truck and I go into like the visitors center,
Yeah.
and they interview me, and they're like, this girl drove here all the way from Omaha, Nebraska to run this race. And I'm like, I didn't even know about this race. I was I was the only one that actually like ran all the way to the top that wasn't in a relay team. So they gave me a medal. And I'm just like, how is this my life?
That's
I just love
cool.
the hike. I won a medal and I got interviewed.
That
But I just started having experiences like that, and I would tell people about it, and they're like, your life is so cool. But to me, it just became normal. So then after this, I get back and I'm turning in my expense reports, and my boss is like, "Hey, Justine, you didn't turn in all your receipts." And I was like, "Yeah, I did." And he's like, "There's no way this is all you spent. You were gone for 3 weeks." And then I was like, "Oh no, I forgot about that." I thought I was gonna be in so much trouble. So I sat him down. I'm like, "Hey, yeah, I don't have any lodging expenses." He asked me if I was staying with friends or family, and I said, "No, I've been camping. I lock up the field gear in the truck at night, and campgrounds are really safe. And is it okay? Is this like?" I thought I was gonna get in so much trouble. And he just kind of like sat there in silence, and he's like, "Do you know how much money you just saved our project?" He's like,
Right.
"I thought we were gonna budget," and he's like, "You alone are one of the reasons that because I mean, I was spending probably with all the taxes and fees of like a Holiday Inn hotel room, like 150 a night. So you take
sure.
that times 3 weeks, that adds up really quickly."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
So yeah, he was really excited, and then I
So
started to
now the
get
whole
like
team
little,
has to do it.
Everybody's camping
right,
now.
Everybody has to camp now.
right, no more hotels for anybody. But I was just really happy that he was cool with it. And then whenever there was like a really like small budget, I was more likely to get work.
I bet.
And at that point, yeah, it was amazing because working in environmental consulting, it's pretty stressful because they want you to be nearly 100% billable. So you're often working overtime just to like keep your job in like tough. It's very cyclical, but it's also not like the most stable job. I mean, it depends on where you work, I'm sure, but when you're like brand new in the company, low man on the totem pole, like if they're gonna cut people, you're gonna be on the chopping block.
Yeah.
So yeah, so any way that you can try to like stand out, save the company money, just like get that billability up is really helpful. So then they would put me on like jobs that had smaller budgets because they knew like I could find ways to save money, and I was really like innovative and looking for like ways to cut costs. And I was willing to do things that people didn't even consider doing, like camping.
Yeah.
And then started to give me little projects that I would oversee. But that actually started making my life more stressful because I was working my normal hours on top of that, and then I was overseeing projects in Arkansas and Texas. And I remember one day I was just like trying to take a bath and de-stress after work, and my projects were just falling apart because of adverse weather conditions. So
Mm,
my phone just won't stop ringing, and I'm just exhausted. And that's kind of when I started to become burned out, which began to lead to my current lifestyle.
for sure. And I think a lot of our listeners, like, they talk a lot about, like, being at that point, but not taking the step. So, like, I think a lot of people are, like, realizing that maybe a full time job, only getting 2 weeks off a year is not for them, but they haven't figured out how to, like, make the jump, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrifying. Well, and I wasn't set up to make, I still have student loan debt. I was paying on my vehicle at the time. And then I was putting things on credit cards because I was working so much and I was stressed. I was starting to get burned out and stressed. And like, I didn't live far outside of my means. But after 3 years of working a full-time job after college and not taking any real, that 2 week vacation I took with my friend Kat was really the only time I ever took off. And then if I had a long weekend here or there, I was trying to like cram as much stuff as I could into it because I felt like if I didn't take advantage of that time, I was just working. I was working and sleeping, working and sleeping.
Yeah.
And I got really unhappy and unfulfilled. So I just started buying things to make myself happier. And
Mm.
it was not a good solution, I found out.
That doesn't work very well, does it?
No,
And
especially when you see the interest rate on a credit card.
Right.
right. And I feel like that's a trap that like a lot of us fall into. We're like, okay, when this credit card gets paid off, then I can do this. But like while you're waiting to pay that off, you're like itching to do something or go. I've been in that position. I'm like, oh, I can't take a week long trip. But then you go and you end up like going somewhere for the weekend that wasn't even that fun because you
You're
just
just
gotta,
dying to do
yeah, you
something.
just
Yeah.
gotta get out, you know, and then you put that on a credit card, which puts you even farther from that trip, you know?
I know, and I was doing that, and to me that was normal because that's what I saw other people doing. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember promising myself I would never do that, and here I was, just like doing what everyone else was doing. And
Right.
then I went and I saw my debt kind of like snowballing on me. So I went and got a financial advisor, and he showed me, like, he sat down with the numbers and was like, look at what you're doing to yourself. You are literally robbing your future
Yeah.
because you wanted a new dress that I, I probably didn't even wear it more than once. It was just, it didn't make any sense to me. Just like
Right.
accumulating all of these things to make myself happy because that's what I thought you were supposed to do.
Right.
So how did you break out of that?
Oh, I was like pushed by the freaking, like the universe literally, like there were signs here and there of I needed to like quit my job and do something different, but I wasn't listening. I was too afraid. And then I saw these bills and I'm like, how can I quit my job? I was making good money and I was working in like a smaller Wisconsin town, and I started looking for different jobs, and there weren't that many opportunities for me to even try for. But I got injured. I got really bad tennis elbow because I was doing a lot of like manual labor at this point. I was doing a lot of, which was really cool, like testing concrete and soil. I loved working in the soils lab. However, that much manual labor, literally, I was working like 12 to 14 hours a day, like in the field, pounding stuff into the ground over and over again, lifting concrete samples.
Wow.
And so I got really bad tennis elbow. My boss is like, yeah, that sucks. I've had it. It'll clear up over the weekend. Mine didn't. Mine just got worse.
Yeah.
It got to the point
No.
where I'd wake up in the morning and I couldn't move my arm. So I filed like a workman's comp thing, and they said that I have to get cortisol shots, and that would only work for so long, and then eventually I have to get surgery. Well, I mean, I had gone to college. I'd been working in my field for 8 years at that point. Like, I loved my job. I did not want to give it up. However, I was so unhappy. I wouldn't get my schedule for the next day until 6 p.m. the night before, so I couldn't make plans. I never knew what time I was going to get off work. I literally had no life, and I was destroying my body on top of it. I remember going into the utility closet at work and calling my sister and crying. I'm like, Tanya, I'm just so unhappy. I'm trapped by debt. I don't know what to do. And she's like, well, just start trying to get out of debt, which I got that financial advisor. And then he showed me how long it was going to take. And I just felt so completely defeated.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember being on my, oh, this is not good of me. I was driving and I was like on my phone looking at all these Instagram photos of places I wanted to go. And everything just felt so out of reach. I cut this lady off in traffic.
No shame.
She follows. Oh my, this is like not something I'm proud of, but it literally like changed the complete direction of my life. She follows me. I'm stopped at a stop sign and trying to figure out like there was a bunch of one ways downtown where I was working. I was trying to figure out like because I was on my phone not paying attention. I was trying to figure out like which way to go, and she starts banging on my window like my truck. She's banging on my window so hard. I think she's gonna break my window, and I'm just like, what is going on? And she's yelling at me, "You're a parasite. You're what's wrong with society? You
Wow.
could have killed me." And she's not wrong. Like I'll take full credit for my behavior. So I'm just staring at her. I don't know what to say. I don't want to roll down the window. I'm kind of afraid she's going to beat me up. Like, I don't know what to do. She finally leaves and gets in her car. And I call my boss and I'm like, hey, you're going to get a phone call. I just cut this lady off and she's really upset. She didn't call my local company. She called the president of the entire corporation I worked for
Yeah.
and sent emails to all the higher ups of like what I had done.
Holy
And my
moly.
boss called me and told me that I needed to come into the office after work. And I was so happy and relieved because I thought I was going to get fired. I was ecstatic. And I'm like, this is not okay. But like the decision that I had not been making was taken out of my hands at that point.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
go into that afternoon and he sets me down. He's like, I don't know why they didn't fire you. He's like, we have a zero tolerance policy. He's like, but they're not going to fire you. I start bawling. And I'm like, why aren't they going to fire me? And he's like, are you happy? And I'm like, no. So I'm like bawling. My boss is like, what's wrong? This is good. You're not fired. I'm like, no, I was really happy. I thought I was going to get fired. So I put my 2 weeks notice in with like no plan. And yeah.
That
And
is a
then,
lot of signs pointing to one thing.
Right.
right? Like someone's literally calling you a parasite.
Yeah.
And
That's
then so my sister had recently gotten out of the Navy the summer before all of this happened, and she bartended for a few months. And then she found a job, like her full-time job that she works in now. But she suggested, she's like, why don't you try bartending? I think you'd be good at it. That thought had never crossed my mind. Like, I don't even really drink alcohol. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, I'm not a big partier. But I sat on my couch for a week. And then I was like, well, I guess I'll try it. What do I have to lose? I need money. So I found this bar that was willing to train me. So then I started bartending on the weekends, and then I would clean houses. I was like living in rural Wisconsin in this little A-frame cabin. And then, so yeah, I just kind of like, I don't know, started my own business accidentally.
that's awesome.
So do you still clean houses or you just do bartending?
I just do bartending. Well, okay, working at the bar, that's how I found my house cleaning people, and then they tell everyone else about it. And finally, I was working 7 days a week, and I'm like, no, I don't want to work 7 days a week.
Right.
The whole point of me quitting my job. And then, so then I worked at a bar on the lake, and it got really busy in the summer with tourists. So then this all happened in the end of December in 2018. So by May, I was working at the bar full time. And I was learning how to like be a bartender and was just having like the time of my life and meeting really cool people. And I only worked 4 days a week. So, because I would work like 12-hour shifts. So then I had 3 days off to myself. So like if I wasn't spending time with my daughter, I would just take off in the back of my Jeep and go explore and camp. So that's how that all started.
That's cool.
Very nice.
So what would you
Yeah.
say like to people who maybe are in that same position and maybe they don't feel like they're getting those signs, or maybe they know they are, they're ignoring them, but they're just like flat out not happy. Do you have any like suggestions or like a peace of mind for them in order to like make
Oh,
that kind of leap?
yeah. So when this all happened in like January of 2018, I just kept asking myself over and over again, how did I get to this point? I was supposed to get married. I had my dream career. I graduated college. I was making really good money. Like, why was I so unhappy?
Mm-hmm.
And I found this, I listen to a lot of podcasts, which I'm super excited to listen to more of your guys' podcasts. But I found this girl called Lacey Phillips, and she has this program called To Be Magnetic. And it uses hypnotherapy to get down to your subconscious beliefs to figure out like what is really going on. So every morning I would wake up and I'd enter it into like a hypnotic trance state, and you'd get down to those core feelings of like what is making me shop compulsively, what is making me feel
Mm-hmm.
so unhappy. And I figured out it was because I had these feelings of lack. I had a lacking mentality. I saw the world as very like us versus them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this program where you get down to like your core values, like what actually lights you up. And I'd also discovered minimalism around the same time.
Well, so tell us a little
So,
bit about the minimalism too.
oh, minimalism. So I had this overflowing closet and I just kept buying and buying and buying. And I thought, oh, if I buy this shirt, I'm finally going to have the body that I love. And
Never works.
none of that
Yeah.
works. I I think honestly people know deep down why they're unhappy. I think ultimately it goes down to like us being told that we're not good enough because as much as I love capitalism, growing up in a capitalist society, you're constantly marketed about why this thing is going to fix what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
So we're
Mm-hmm.
constantly being bombarded with messages that things are wrong with us, and even the self-help industry is telling you like why you need to like fix this about yourself. And I just decided that I didn't want to subscribe to that mentality anymore. Like I decided that I'm good enough the way I am, and then I got such a sense of peace and freedom from that. And then that also makes minimalism a lot easier. So, with minimalism, are you guys familiar with it?
A little bit, but you can tell us a little bit about how it works in your life.
Okay. So, for me, a lot of people think minimalism is only owning 33 pieces of clothing or trying to get rid of as much as you can. But the actual like backbone of minimalism is finding out what truly brings you joy, and then you invest your time, your resources, your energy on those things, and you have to learn to say no to nearly everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this author called Mark Manson. He's amazing. He wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And so
Love it.
I read a lot of, oh, he's hilarious. So I read a lot about human psychology because I want to know why I do the things I do. Because then like, when you set a New Year's resolution and you fail over and over and over again, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to find out why do I fail. So I went off on this like rabbit hole back in 2012, and it led me to like all of this. Like, so yeah, minimalism. You really hone in what brings me joy. Like you turn off the TV, you get off the social media for a moment. You just like set with yourself and you just kind of like have to get really still and really quiet and things will start to bubble up. Or you'll think back to what lit you up when you were a kid. What did you love doing? I loved wandering around the cornfields in the forest and building forts. Like I loved being outside. I loved adventuring and exploring. So when you realize what you do want, you have to start saying no to what you don't want, which is what minimalism is to me. And then I started to realize we kind of live in a codependent society where, oh, I started keeping track of my finances at work, for example. And in the span of 2 months, I had over 8 different requests to like buy things from my coworkers' kids.
Oh wow.
And I gave them like $20 each. So I bought something that was $20. So 8 times 20 is what, $160?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Like that's a one-way plane ticket somewhere.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm not saying don't support charities, but I think it would have been better just to give the kid directly $20 if I
Yeah.
really wanted to support it.
Yeah.
For
So then I
sure.
sat down and I'm like, yeah. So then I sat down, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna create a charity budget. Yeah. So minimalism is all about like really living with intention. Like, where do I want to put my money? Where do I want to put my time? What do I want to spend my energy on? Because time and energy is a finite resource. You wake up, you have 24 hours a day. How do you want to spend it? And
Yeah.
I realized even though I had quit my job and I was working 4 days a week, there were still so many areas in my life that I was just like bleeding time, energy, and money. And the more I started becoming aware of those places and saying no, the happier and more peaceful and calm I got. But the flip side of that is I also often feel very alienated from people who still subscribe to these mentalities, who
Mm.
still do things because they think they should.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't want to spend every weekend of my life going to children's birthday parties, and I don't want to go to every single wedding I'm invited to, and I don't want to go to every bridal shower and every bachelorette party I go to. Because if I say yes to everything, then I have nothing left for myself.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I
But then I
think,
also feel very selfish. So
yeah,
you
I
just
want to
have
say, I think that like this time period is a good time. I love the way that you explained that. And it might be good for our listeners to hear it because it's a good time for people who are interested in this to flow into this because we are all stuck in our houses.
I was gonna say, you mean the time of Corona?
Yeah, like no, it's what I'm
oh,
saying. Like,
Corona.
we're stuck in our houses and we're forced to like you can only watch so much TV or play on your phone so much, and you're gonna start thinking like, what do I really want to do? What am I missing? What am I itching to do? And it might be a good time for people to jump off into like, what does make me happy at the end of the day?
So did you start getting rid of stuff too, or did you just start kind of saying no to things?
Oh, both. So I just like my coworkers would ask me if I wanted to go after work, and I knew if I went out and partied, I'd be tired the next day and I wouldn't be able to go hiking. So I would say no to that. And then after a while, they saw that I was going out and doing these things that they didn't do. So then they kind of wanted to start to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So if you start saying no to people and then they see you going out and doing your thing, it actually might work out in your favor because at first it's uncomfortable saying no, but then they might want to join you.
Yeah.
And then everyone benefits. And then, well, I moved a lot. I moved in 2018. I called off my engagement and I moved in with my ex-husband and his wife to try to like figure things out. And then I moved into the tiny A-frame cabin, and from there I with a roommate, and then I got my own place. And I started dating my ex-boyfriend. I moved in with him. So in the span of a year, I moved probably like 5 or 6 times. Moving will make you a minimalist.
Right.
Each time I moved, I just kept getting rid of more and more and more stuff. And then January of this year is when I decided to become like a full-time traveling bartender. And I have like a Chevy HHR. It's like similar to a PT Cruiser. And whatever didn't fit in there and give me room to sleep, I couldn't take it with me. So I got rid of probably 75% of my clothes. I gave my bicycle, my paddleboard, and my snowboard away to a friend. Like I just was like giving stuff away like crazy. And then I made some money donating clothes or selling clothing to thrift stores. So you can make money off getting rid of stuff too.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can make
Yeah.
money downsizing.
For sure.
Yep.
So now you travel. That's what you do full time now. Is you travel in the HHR, and that's
Yep.
kind of your life. And that's what you do.
Yep. Since January. So I finished up I was working at a bar in Wisconsin. So I gave him like several months notice before I took off. Originally, I was just going to go travel for a month and then come back and keep working there. But I decided to just like go for it. And then I left Wisconsin at the end of January and I traveled around the southeast part of the country. And I planned my entire road trips around national parks and places I wanted to go hiking, which the weather really messed with me because I was traveling in February. And I thought it'd be really, I don't know, it was fun though. Like you have to get, like you said, you have to get really adaptable and flexible.
Right.
And then I got to Virginia in the middle of February. And then my sister and I road trip down to Florida and spent a week there where she got scuba dive certified.
Cool.
And I just tagged along with. It was so much fun. And then I went back to Virginia and then I lived with her for a couple months and I was working at a bar in Virginia. And then I like to still do environmental science stuff. So I had a job offer, I had a potential job offer working for this Friends of the Rappahannock doing like riverbank restoration work.
Okay.
But I don't even know if I got the job because everything got shut down because of Corona.
Yeah.
Mm.
So how do you do riverbank restoration? What do you do? How does that work?
Okay, so my internship with Omaha, the city of Omaha, I did a lot of stormwater management runoff.
Hmm.
So with riverbanks, you so anytime you urbanize an area, you're going to get increased runoff, and it's going to cause a lot of erosion, a lot of flooding problems. And then the riverbanks, like where the area in Virginia I was at was a part of the Chesapeake Bay, which is one of the most important bays in the world, actually, because there's just so many things we depend on that bay for. So you don't want your riverbanks eroding. You don't want, because when sediment gets into water, it makes it really cloudy,
Hmm.
and then it messes with the ecosystem in the water. You have fish die off, and then that affects the birds. So like you want your rivers pristine. You don't want invasive species in there. So a lot of it is like you're out there building like riprap to slow down that flow of water. You're doing a lot of community outreach events. Like, hey, if you're going boating from one lake to the next, inspect your boat, make sure you're not carrying invasive species with you. Um, a lot of like tree planting because you want to stabilize those riverbanks, so you want them to be like highly vegetated if possible.
Okay.
Just
So cool.
yeah, stuff like that.
Well, because that's what I was wondering. Do you just put a bunch of rocks on the side, or is it vegetation? Or what? What is it that shores it up?
Yeah, a combination of everything.
Okay,
That's so
Um,
cool.
that's cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I like
riprap's
that.
pretty common.
So, like, tell us a little bit about, because you've talked a lot about like camping at different places, and I know that it can be expensive, but it seems like you have found some like pretty inexpensive places to camp. Where do you normally
Oh,
like camp?
oh my goodness. So there are so many ways to camp for free. So you can camp on grasslands, seashores. It's really easy in the southeast to camp in national forests. Sometimes you have to get a permit to hike or and camp overnight, but a lot of places will let you backcountry camp. You just have to be like Shenandoah National Park. You have to be maybe like 200 feet from the trail,
Okay.
and you can camp for free up to 14 days. And then you can also camp in the Southwest. There's so much Bureau of Land Management land out there, and you can it's like dispersed camping. There's you're lucky if you have like a fire pit. This is not like fancy camping. There are no amenities. There's usually not any Wi-Fi, but it's free and it's beautiful. Like imagine waking up in a national forest or waking up in a desert and seeing amazing rock formations. Like you
Yeah.
don't need Wi-Fi. But I depend a lot on technology to find these places. So I have to do a lot of prep work because most of the time if I get out there, I'm not gonna be able to like pull up my phone and figure out where to camp. So
Mm.
there's these apps. There's boondocking. There's the National Forest Explorer. I use the dirt a lot to find campsites. For hiking, I use All Trails. The Pro Edition lets you download maps when you have Wi-Fi so that you can use them offline.
Ooh.
There's websites. There's freecampsites.net. There's ultimatecampgrounds.com. There's this app called Allstays. You pay $10 for lifetime access, and it tells you places you can sleep overnight for free. If it's like poor weather and I'm traveling, I will sleep in like a Walmart parking lot. Casinos and truck stops often let you stay like park overnight. You can park overnight in a rest stop. I've never done that. I like to. There's this thing called stealth camping where you camp in your car,
Yeah.
and I like to be a little bit more like corporate. Oftentimes, I've just parked my car in a residential neighborhood, and I blend in really well.
Nice. So do you
Yeah.
like cover up the
So
windows in your car?
yeah. So if it's winter, you just crack the window a little bit. But there's this netting, mosquito netting shades you can like actually put over your window, and then you can roll your window down.
Mm, that's cool.
Interesting.
Love it.
There's just so many cool things out there. I have a mattress that I put in the back of my vehicle. I fold down the seats and I just like lay my sleeping bag down and it's really comfy. When I was driving, I left Virginia on May 7th and I drove up to northern Idaho. And I remember it was raining. So I just like parked my vehicle. I saw it being in this motel parking lot saying it was in the place. So I parked beside them, and I woke up in the morning, and I didn't even know I was like I kind of knew I was in the Tetons, but I woke up and I saw them, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe I'm waking up to this view.
That's cool.
It was amazing.
That is
But
so
yeah, and it's
cool.
really. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
It's really what's really cool about this lifestyle is the people you meet. Like I've met some of the most phenomenal people on the road that I just like you never know what's gonna happen. I was hiking in Kentucky. I was really excited to see this waterfall. And there was this older gentleman walking around when I parked, and he goes, "Hey, I just hiked this other trail. You should do both of them if you have time." And I said, "Well, I don't have time to do both of them." He's like, "Well, if you want to hike alone, you should pick this one." But I wanted to hike the one he was going to hike. I'm like, "No, no, I want to hike with you." So I ended up hiking this waterfall trail with this retired porter named Fred. And I found out 3 years ago he found these two trails. It was called Tioga Falls Trail and then Bridges to Pass Trail. And they were littered with trash and garbage, and it just broke his heart. So he goes out there every single week and picks up trash. And that's like his,
Wow.
Oh,
yeah, he was just amazing. He was so inspiring, like
That's
to have that
cool.
level of dedication and commitment. And if it weren't for Fred picking up that trash, when I got to that trail, it wouldn't have been as nice as it was.
No.
Like, it was just so cool.
that
And then
sounds
when my sister and I were down in Florida, we met up with one of her friends who was on vacation, and then we met some locals, and they took us boating at midnight. It was just so cool.
That's fun.
And then my sister and I were down in Costa Rica, and we were just like trying to get off the beaten path. Like we don't like to do touristy things. So we were rappelling down waterfalls with this local Costa Rican group, and we met a couple who had been backpacking through Nicaragua, and they told us about some local hot springs where all the locals go. So before I knew it, we were driving them there. And we were just like hanging out with locals, and it was just so much more fun than the resort that we had stayed at the night before.
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
It's
So
it's amazing how much fun stuff like that can be, you know.
yeah.
I know, and it didn't cost anything. Like,
And it's
and it
so
was
much
just so,
cheaper, yeah.
I know, and the memories you make are just so much, in my opinion, they're just so much
Yeah.
more authentic and
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are the stories that you tell later on.
Yeah.
Like to people, you're like, oh my God, I met this coolest person. Instead of like, oh my gosh, I went to this tourist.
Yeah. I went to this resort and swam in a pool.
Like, got on this
right with
Ferris
all these
wheel.
other tourists.
Yeah.
And people were
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to tell me things on the beach, and it was so annoying. Um, yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. What about like, I know you talked about like BLM land and finding cheap camping. What about like, how do you do like food and water cheaply as you go?
Oh, grocery stores are your best friend. So it's not very often I like to camp in a Walmart parking lot. It's loud, it's noisy, it's not very scenic. But if I know I need to stock up on groceries or just want to brush my teeth in like a real bathroom, I will just stay overnight in a Walmart parking lot or like any grocery store that allows it. And then I'll go in there in the morning and I'll stock up on like fresh produce, apples and almond butter. I'll buy a lot of like the canned tuna. And then I do a lot of like energy and protein bars. And then I bought a 5 gallon water container. And I'll fill that up when I leave somewhere. And then I also have a 1 gallon container. So like every time I fill up with gas at a gas station, I'll just take my 1 gallon reusable container and I'll fill it up with water. And then I also have water bottles that I fill up. And then I'm just constantly like replenishing my water. But what's really fun is when you meet a local and they show you a natural like a natural spring location.
Yeah.
I feel, oh, it's so much fun. I filled up my water containers at this one spot in the Red River Gorge. And then I filled up my containers at this spring my friend told me about in Hot Springs National Park in Arkansas. Or like you'll go to a campsite and you'll have those like pump wells.
Yeah.
You can fill up your water there. That's how I do it. You just buy the container and just refill it.
So, with COVID and everything going on, if you just started in January, how has that been affecting everything for you?
Oh goodness, COVID. So it was really cool to see how the different states responded to like sheltering in place. I was supposed to have quarantined every state I passed through for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I did not. I chose not to because when I was out there hiking during COVID, I didn't really meet a lot of people on the trails. I used to shower at Planet Fitness. Well, all the gyms were shut down.
Yeah.
And then I
Oh.
went to a truck stop to try to shower, and there was a 3 hour wait, and I couldn't do it. And I was trying not to expose myself and others. Like as I was driving from Virginia to my job in Idaho, and I did take the scenic route. However, I was trying to be a responsible citizen. Like I wasn't trying to like spread COVID, you know? So I would only stop and get gas and I wouldn't like go inside unless I had to, like use the restroom. So, but after a while, like I needed to shower. So I downloaded a Bumble, a dating app, and I was just like super upfront with people because you can meet
Yes.
guys and on there. I was like, hey, I'm passing through town. I have been traveling. I completely understand if you're not comfortable with that. I'm in dire need of a shower. Um, if that's cool, let me know. And you wouldn't believe like how many people are so okay with that.
That is awesome. That
Most
is
of the
my
time, people
favorite
would
thing.
say,
That's probably the best use of a dating app right there.
Right, yeah.
It's just a free shower. I love it.
That's a
yeah,
good one.
I met this guy in Utah and he's like, yeah, I figured you would just shower and leave. He's like, but I'd get a good story out of it at least.
Right?
But he's like, I really wanted. So many people are just like, I want to hear about your life.
You're like, okay, if you want to take me out to dinner too, that's cool.
Right?
I'm
Yeah.
down. We just had an episode about the app Couch Surfer. Have you ever heard that one? Couch surfing?
Yes, one of my best friends who lives in Minneapolis. Well, there's kind of some stuff going on with couch surfing right now, but he's actually an ambassador for couch surfing, and
Cool.
he's trying to petition the app to. So they kicked everyone off that wasn't verified, and you pay money to get verified. So
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to like petition to the couch surfing app to like go back to the nonprofit ways. But I used to host people all the time when I lived in Omaha, like couch surfers,
Yeah. I was thinking that might be a
and
good way to get your shower in.
Yeah.
yes.
That would be awesome.
There's couch surfing he told me about, and because of the whole like verification, kicking everyone off the app with couch surfing, he's transitioning his time and resources into the Be Welcome community. So there's even more apps than couch surfing that are geared towards like this kind of travel.
What are some of the other ones? Do you know a couple of the other ones?
He mentioned Be Welcome to me.
Be welcome.
I One app that I really like if I'm staying in a place for a few months working, there's this app called Meetup, and it's just there's categories for like if it's a big city, nearly interests you can never think of. I joined a lot of hiking and camping and outdoorsy themed meetup groups, and that's how I made a lot of my friends in Wisconsin. I would just go to these group hikes, and then so yeah, Meetup's amazing. I don't know how well it would be to like crash with people if you're passing through their city, but couch surfing, Be Welcome, Tinder, Bumble. There's
I
gotta
love
be
it.
like I'm in a couple Facebook groups about budget travel, and I did see a group where you can meet up with travelers on Facebook, but I haven't joined it yet because
Yeah,
so I'm a traveling bartender, so I tend to spend several months when I'm at a place.
yeah. Speaking of being like a female and being alone and being single and whatever, all the things, how do you feel like hiking is alone as a female? I'm sure that a lot of people have asked you this question or brought this up to you, but like, how do you feel it is for you? And then, like, what advice would you have for like other females or even males being alone on the trail too? That's scary too. What advice would you give for them?
So I started small. I started hiking back in 2012, and I hiked with a lot of older people because hiking wasn't really a thing like it is now. And
Right.
I learned a lot from them. They taught me like you have to be prepared when you go out on the trail. Like you need to check the weather. You need to have like proper gear, like proper hiking boots, dress in layers. You need to know what kind of animal life you might encounter. I'm up in northern Idaho, like 20 miles from the Canadian border in a national forest. So I take bear mace with me, and when I'm hiking alone, I'm constantly like scanning the upper canopy because there's cougars up here and they will stalk you if they're
Really?
gonna attack.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can use bear mace on cougars, but if you have to have such amazing situational awareness, which actually bartending has helped me a lot with too. Like I'm constantly scanning the crowd at work, and that's a skill I use in hiking. Like I'm constantly like scanning the horizon. I don't want to sprain my ankle. I'm out hiking. Oh, well, if you're going to do a lot of hiking alone, especially in like remote places, you're going to want to have a personal locator beacon or a satellite messenger. That way, like
Mm,
if you don't have signal,
that's a good
they're kind
point.
of pricey and you have to pay a subscription fee, but I mean, it's worth it if you get in trouble. And then you want to tell people where you're going. You want to carry a knife with you. Um, you want food and water. Take more water than you think you're going to need. If you just started out and you don't feel comfortable learning this on your own, REI and like local camping stores, they'll often have workshops you can go. There was this place in Virginia called River Rock Outfitters that would host group camp, like group hikes, and
Hmm.
they're just such an excellent resource to learn things like what to do on a trail, what not to do. Like if you see a bear, unless there's cubs, get away. But if it's just a bear, like be kind of noisy, you might scare it off.
Hmm.
So like just like educate yourself and you'll build that layer of confidence. That
Yeah,
way, no matter what situation you're in, you know you can handle it.
that's good. I like that.
Yeah, I like the personal beacon. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
You just like, is it kind of like a key fob or what is it?
They have all types. They have like satellite messengers. They have little like handheld devices where you just press a button and it sends out like an SOS signal. They have some of them where you can actually like send text messages.
Hmm.
Um, they have some you can like load your itinerary in and send it to like your friends and family. Oh, and if you're in a group, there's this one device where you can have up to like 8 different devices, so you can all like talk to each other in the group.
Hmm.
That obviously wouldn't work as well if you're solo traveling, but you kind of like can you create this communication network.
That's
But
cool.
That's real cool. I like that.
yeah, you're probably the one I chose was 350. Um, I can send messages. I want to know if someone's coming for me,
Right? Yeah.
if I'm like injured. I don't want to just like press the button and hope
Like, did it
someone's gonna
work?
show up. But then you pay like a subscription fee.
Hmm.
Um,
So it costs you
you,
$350 to get it, and then what's your subscription fee a month?
it's 12 a month
That's not bad. It's
for
not
like a
bad at all.
basic. Yeah, but if you're gonna be using it a lot and you want to send more text messages, they can like go up in price.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a phone plan. It's really customizable.
That's awesome.
But they work everywhere. It's based off a satellite.
Yep, yeah, it's a satellite messenger.
Nice.
That's
I think it'd be
cool.
worth it if you're going to be out there and be in that situation.
I mean,
Just the peace of mind
Yeah.
for me.
Have you had to use it?
No. No, not yet. Knock on wood. I've been, another thing, if you don't want to be like in a remote wilderness trail, if you stick to popular trails, like when I was hiking, when I drove from Wisconsin to Virginia, I can't really think of a time I went hiking and didn't see at least one other person on the trail.
Yeah.
true.
So if you stick to popular, well-known trails, you're gonna see people. And if you get in it, oh, actually, my friend and Kat, when we were in Arizona, we actually rescued a family who got stranded in the desert, and they didn't realize how long of a hike they had ahead of them. They're hiking a slot canyon, and they ran out of water. And we found the son walking, so we picked him up and drove him like 2 miles back to where his parents were, and we gave him water and because they didn't have cell phone signal, and I don't know what happened to their car. I don't know how they got stranded. I can't remember, but we helped them.
Wow.
Wow, that's cool.
So
That's what I was just going to ask if you had any other crazy stories. You get caught in any weather? Have you you've been stalked by any cougars or anything crazy?
uh, I've seen bears. I have
Yeah.
not been stalked by a cougar yet that I know of. Trying to think of any crazy stories. I'm terrified of heights, and I'm always trying to like push myself to like conquer that fear.
Love it.
So like if you when I first started hiking, I would like crawl to the edge of a ledge and like panic and cry. I've gotten rained on a lot. I'm completely cool with hiking in the rain. I've had like inclement weather happen where like a thunderstorm came really quickly up and I had to like run to my car. But I got snowed in Chattanooga. The entire city like shut down. I couldn't go anywhere.
Wow.
I got stranded coming back from Costa Rica. And I couldn't rebook my flight until I got back to the States. So I flew into Florida at like 8 p.m. and found out the next flight to Chicago wasn't for 36 hours. So I just rented a minivan and I drove from Fort Lauderdale down to Key Largo and I went snorkeling and kayaking and I saw
Nice.
alligator
Wow.
crocodiles in the Everglades National Park.
That's
So
so
yeah, if you
cool.
get stranded, just like make the best of it. I didn't like I saw a lot of travelers that were in the same situation as me get really upset and they were taking it out on the representative, and I'm like, hey, what's the longest I can be here? Because my
Yeah.
vacation just got extended.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Another thing I was curious about is like, as far as your daughter, is she like very adventurous, or does she ever like join you on any of your adventures as well?
Yes, we're actually planning a trip to the Outer Banks in August because that's her favorite place in the country, and she wants to college there. She's pretty adventurous, actually. Um, I called her the other day, and she's just like, she's always out doing stuff. She loves being outside. She was pretty upset that school got canceled because of Corona because she loves friends.
Oh,
I remember last year she goes, I'm running for class president. I'm like, okay, cool. And then she became class president. Like, if she
wow.
wants to do something, she just figures it out. I remember last summer, I'm like, hey, do you want to set schedule where you come see me? Like, how do you want your summer to go? And she goes, I don't know, Mom. I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling this summer. I have a lot of people to see. Let's just keep it open.
That's awesome that like you've
Okay,
inspired the traveler in her. That's pretty
That
cool.
is cool, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think so.
How old is she?
I really she's 13,
13.
and like she has a really stable lifestyle. Like my ex-husband's remarried, and they have a son, and they like live in this cute little like valley tucked in these bluffs in Wisconsin. And like she has like a really normal life, but then she also gets to see like me. She actually asked me if I was having a midlife crisis the other day, and I'm like, no.
You're like, no,
There's
this is
just
my
different. I
whole
think
life.
Yeah. This is
My-
a whole life
This
crisis.
is a whole life crisis. This is the rest of my life.
she even overheard someone talking about it. I'm not sure. But I
That's
get to have
awesome.
like really cool conversations with her because I mean obviously she does miss me, but we make the best use of technology. Like we talk on the phone every day, we text, we Skype. Um, we do a back to school trip every year where I just like spoil the heck out of her. And I remember we went to Madison to go shopping. I'm like, hey, do you want to stay in this yurt? It looks really cool. And she's like on the Airbnb site, and I'm like, pick whatever place you want. I gave her a budget. And she's like, I really want to stay in this basement. I'm like, why would you want to stay in a basement over a yurt? And she's like, well, there's a cat. And I'm like, you have two cats. You want to stay in the basement of this guy's house because there's a cat over a yurt? And she said, yeah. And I was like, okay.
You're like, here we
So
go.
we literally sat in this basement watching TV for hours until the very next day. She wouldn't let me check out of the Airbnb until the very last minute because she wanted to hang out with this cat. She loves animals.
That
And
is
then we're
awesome.
driving away, and she's like, we had explored the Capitol building in downtown Madison, and we'd rented electric bikes, and we went and saw like people kite surfing along the shore. And she's like, I want to try that. I'm like, hell yeah, or sorry, heck yeah, we're gonna try that when you get older. And then she goes, can we go back and stay at that Airbnb? I miss the cat. And I'm like, no, we can't just
That is so funny.
I'm staying out with this cat.
You're like, next time we're
But
staying in the yurt.
yeah, next time we're definitely staying in the yurt. So I like to give her a lot of freedom to like pick where she wants to go and like where she wants to stay.
I believe there is a
Depends.
cat hotel somewhere, by the way. So
Oh,
you
I
might
was
want to look into that. I think there's a cat
thinking
hotel
that.
somewhere. You pay like
Oh my
$200 a night or something like that. And I think they have like a little cafe and there's like cats like everywhere, I think. I want to say it's in Miami, but I'm not sure.
I know
I'll take her to
here.
Miami to stay in a cat motel. She's gonna love it.
You should look
She
into
loves
that.
the ocean. Okay, she would love that. She's like obsessed with the ocean.
That's so cool.
Double,
See,
double bonus, cats and motion.
she's finding
Right.
her happiness too, right? She's finding her things that make her happy, and
Yeah.
she's forgetting everything else, like yurts and everything
Yeah.
else.
Like growing up, I never thought I could go to college out of state, and these are just things that she like. They don't even. It does. It's like no big deal to her. I'm like, you can study abroad too if you want. Like the
Yeah.
things that I'm telling her she can do with her life are things I never even knew were an option growing up because my lifestyle was so different. Like I grew up in rural Nebraska. My parents were pretty poor. Like I grew up like out in the country, and I rode a school bus for 3 hours a day. So I read a lot of books. Like
Yeah.
I'm not saying her life is better than mine because I'm very grateful for my childhood experiences and they help shape me and who I am. But I just feel like she just has so many more options.
For sure. Yeah.
You can
That's
turn your camera off if you want.
sometimes it
Okay.
helps with the
It might be,
lag.
yeah, it might be helping with the lag a little bit. There you go.
Okay.
Sorry. So what would you say is like, I know this might be a hard thing to zone in on, but your favorite thing from this new lifestyle of travel versus like the old lifestyle you have? What would you say is like your favorite?
Oh, definitely the freedom. So I worked until the end of January and then I traveled for 3 weeks and then I worked for 2 weeks before Corona happened and shut my job down. And then I didn't start working again until the end of May. And because of minimalism and the ability to save money, and I live so cheaply, my bills are minimal. It wasn't a big deal that I only worked 2 months of this year so far. I just have so much freedom. I get to set my own schedule. I love not waking up to an alarm clock because I mean I'm a bartender, so like the earliest I work is like 11 a.m. I love working the night shift because then I have the day to spend hiking and camping and like on the
Yeah.
boat. I love the people I meet. Um, it's just like a really free-spirited, open-minded lifestyle. And so the people that are attracted to this lifestyle are equally open-minded. And just like the discussions I have with people about life and the things I learn, they just make me that much better of a person. I used to be so judgmental and hard on myself, and I used to try to be perfect, and I'm not like that anymore because the not being that way is just so much better.
For sure. Especially, I'm thinking too, like with right now with everything going on in our world and all the like hate and just like everybody doesn't even know what they're doing with their life. It would be great to be in this kind of lifestyle where you just feel free. Not that's not still around you, but it seems like you might be a little less maybe affected by that. Would you say that's true?
Yeah.
Oh, like we don't really have Wi-Fi up where I am staying right now. Like, my house doesn't have Wi-Fi. I had to come. I work at a resort, and I had to come up to like the conference room and use their Wi-Fi, and it's not even that good still. Like, I had to turn my camera off so you could hear me. And it's funny because I'll go a week without logging into social media, and then I'll log in and I'll just see all this chaos and turmoil. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know there was curfews. I was down in Spokane, Washington, trying to look at this waterfall after I flew in from hiking with a friend in Utah, and cops were following me around. And I've never been, this is my privilege right here. I've never been followed around by a cop.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then I figured it out. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I, I almost feel guilty about being able to just like check out, but I also
Yeah.
love that I can. Like, I feel like even if we, okay, I know this is a little bit privileged that like I'm not affected by these things. I'm so grateful that I am a US citizen. If I had been born in the Middle East, I could not be living the lifestyle I am. It wouldn't be an option for me. But I'm going to be grateful for my advantages and my privileges, and I'm going to use them to become a better person.
For
Um,
sure.
that's all I can really do with it. Uh, all I can do is like live my best life, and every single person I meet, like try to treat them with respect and show them love and acceptance and not judge them, like no
Mm-hmm.
matter who they are, where they're from. And the more I'm able to do that for myself, the more I'm able to do that for others.
Mm-hmm.
So when people get in like heated debates with me about things, I'm like, I can kind of see the bigger picture. Like, if you look back in like a newspaper from the 1960s, you would read about the civil rights unrest, you'd read about the Cold War. If you just spend all your time watching TV, you're going to think the world is such a fearful, a horrible place full of hate. And yeah, that does exist, but that isn't my reality. I choose not to see the world like that. One thing that really bothers me is my family. Like, I know it's coming from a place of love, but I'm so sick of hearing stay safe, be safe.
Yeah.
To me, they want me to confined in my home, and I want to go out there and live life because I know everything has always worked out for me so far up to this point. So why wouldn't it continue to? And I'm not going to be able to escape death. So why do I want to like stay in my house and cower in fear and be afraid of people when most people I meet are really awesome?
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing
So
that I think is great
that's
about
my
travel is travel opens you up to really how great people are. And if
Mm-hmm.
you get off of Facebook
oh
and get away from the news and stuff like that, you realize
Yeah.
that people are better than they are portrayed on Facebook and the news.
Mm-hmm.
And
100%. And you find people out there that you travel with that you meet and you're like, this person's awesome. Then you might find out they have a completely different view from you, whether it be politically or racially or whatever, but they're still amazing people. And you're able to like connect with people who
well,
are different than you. And it's not like, oh, I go on Facebook and if you have a different opinion than me, we're going to fight, you know? it opens up that door to be friends with people who are different than you.
Exactly. So does bartending. I've heard everything from everyone, and I'm able to listen with an open mind because I can see the humanity in someone. And like when people are angry about something, it's usually coming from a place of love. Like they're afraid their children are gonna have something bad happen to them, or they're
Hmm.
afraid they'll lose all their money, or what I learned is all fear actually stems from love because you're afraid of losing something that's important to you.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid of losing things because I know things can be replaced. And I watched my house burn down when I was 5 years old. I lost all my belongings. Like things just and being a minimalist, things just aren't that important to me. And I think if people became a little less attached to their things, they could live a little bit more and they could experience more love and acceptance in their own life.
For sure. I
I
agree.
love that. That's a really awesome way to look at things.
For sure.
Thank
Love
you.
it.
Okay. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our interview part, and now we're going to move on to our last couple of segments. Our first segment is called Don't Do That. And the Don't Do That is a travel mistake that you've made somewhere along the way that our listeners could benefit from and hopefully not make themselves.
Don't overschedule and overpack your trip. I remember when I first started traveling, I would bring every little thing I thought I needed, and it got really, really annoying to carry around that stuff. And then I also thought, oh, this is my vacation. I need to see every little thing possible. You're just running around exhausted and you're not enjoying anything. So I learned like go with the flow, only take what you think you absolutely need. Like for me, that's like a toothbrush, toothpaste, some skincare, and then a few changes of clothes, and then sensible shoes. And then like pick couple places that are really important for you to see, and then just kind of let the rest of it fill in organically. Like, and then if you travel alone, you're probably going to meet someone and you're probably going to get invited somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you had an packed schedule, you wouldn't be able to say yes.
That's one thing that it's been very hard for me to learn is I used to way overpack and way overschedule and then get upset when we couldn't make everything, or I would put like my favorite thing last or something like that, and then we'd have too many things in there, and then my favorite thing would end up being the thing bumped off the trip instead of taking all that incidental stuff out that I don't really care about and just making it just about whatever that thing is that I care the most about.
Oh, I love hearing that. And it makes your trip so much more enjoyable too.
Yeah, for sure.
I used to way
Like,
overpack. I can't tell you how much I used to way overpack.
and then you're just carrying all this stuff around with you, and you're just like, ugh.
Yeah, I used to hate camping. So growing up, my family camped all the time, like tent camped, and I hated it because my mom wanted to bring everything in the kitchen sink, literally like the kitchen sink, and it was such like you spent so much of your time unpacking and then packing up because we would just go for like a weekend that you had like 12 hours to do hiking and all the jazz. And now that like I don't tent camp and I tent camp, but I don't bring everything. It's so much better. Like I enjoy it so much. But I remember just being like, this is crap. I'm moving crap from a car to a tent and then back to a car. That's not
Yeah.
fun. I remember being like
Doesn't
this.
feel like camping at that point.
No, it's just like, all right, get out 12 power cords and the griddle and the
Everything in the kitchen sink.
literally, yeah. No fault to my mom. That's just, just who she is. But I could definitely relate to that for sure.
I used to have a lot of friends that rock that too.
Yeah, just bring
They just have to
everything.
bring too much stuff.
I remember, what was the thing? Oh, she used to bring, like, you bring like an air mattress, cool. Like an air mattress, but it was a chair that you blew up and it was so big. And it was
Like
like
an air couch or something?
yeah, like for the tent. And I remember just being like, it would take so long to like get it blown up. I don't know. It was a little chuckle. Good
I
times.
mean, it depends on how long you're
Yeah.
going for. If you're going for a whole week or something like that, yeah, you can bring some extra stuff. But if you're going
Yeah.
for a weekend, you don't need to be bringing an air couch.
Yeah, it was a good time.
That's hilarious.
Backpacking is really. Uh,
Yeah, with
if you want to
backpacking, you
learn how
don't.
to camp,
Well, I was just
yeah,
going to say,
go
with backpacking,
backpacking.
you don't hardly bring anything, do you?
Yeah. I remember
no. You remember my first backpacking trip? I didn't bring enough food because I didn't have enough room.
Oh,
Yes, I remember.
It was horrible.
What did you do?
So
Did
yeah,
you have to come back early?
no, I just went to bed really hungry.
I remember my first backpacking trip and only. I brought a can of peanut butter and a jar of jelly, and they were like, "What are you doing?"
And
I
no
was like,
bread?
No, I think I did. No, I put like not bread, like tortillas. And they're like, "What are you doing? Like, you don't bring a whole can." And I was like, "I'm gonna be hungry."
That's hilarious.
So my pack was the opposite. It was mainly food, and like I gave up my, they had give you like a pad to sleep on top of like with your little sleeping bag. You have a pad. I gave up the pad. I was like, forget that. I'd rather have
Just one
food.
food.
Like, it was a good time.
That's good.
But backpacking is a big one to help you be a minimalist for sure.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Love it.
All right. The last segment is today's hidden gem. And today's hidden gem is a place that you have been that is off the beaten path that our listeners should go check out if they are in this area.
Oh, I'm not supposed to tell you guys about this. So I'm working up in Priest Lake in northern Idaho, and it's actually called the Crown Jewel of Idaho because it's gorgeous. It's in the middle of two national forests, and it's surrounded by mountains.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of glacial lakes up here with islands. There's ancient cedars up here. I'm bartending up here at this place called Hills Resort, and all the people I'm meeting are locals who have been coming up here their entire lives, and they all want to know how I found out about this place. And there's this site called coolworks.com that has all these like traveling jobs, and the locals keep telling me not to tell anyone else about this place because they don't want any more people up here.
Oopsies.
But I think Idaho's amazing, and when I told my family I was going to Idaho, they all wanted to know why. There's a lot of potato jokes.
Right, yeah.
But northern Idaho is absolutely stunning. I had a job offer in Alaska. I had a job offer working on Lake Powell. I had jobs in Wisconsin and Virginia, and I chose this place because I Googled it and I looked at the hiking opportunities. And there's just like, if you love outdoor activities, this place is like a gem year round. They have everything. They have boating, snowmobiling, skiing. They have mountains. It's just incredible here. And everyone up here is so nice.
And that's a place where you're at now?
Yeah. I feel like I'm at summer camp. We have barbecues. We have bonfires. I'm out on boats. Like, it's just gorgeous up here.
You ready to go, Jason?
I was going to say, is it expensive if you want to stay there?
No, not really. I mean, anything can be expensive. There's so many campgrounds up here.
Okay.
And you can actually, you can rent, I think if you rent a pontoon boat for a day, it's like $350.
Okay.
I don't know about overnight, but you could rent a boat and then like camp on islands. A lot of the camping up here is free. There's like the backcountry camping. The really good hiking trails up here don't open up until July because you can't really get up in the mountain roads right now.
Okay.
But there's this Granite Falls hike where you literally like slide down a rock waterfall. It looks, I cannot wait for July.
That's cool.
That's so cool.
Does it warm up enough that the water is warm enough, or are you always cold?
So they claim the water gets colder or warmer. I jumped in the other day and it was 50 degrees and I have sensitive teeth and they hurt the rest of the day because it was so cold. But they claim it warms up. We'll see about that.
Or you just go numb, but either way, it's probably enjoyable.
Yeah, but we had a couple 90-degree days up here already though.
Nice.
It's been kind of rainy though.
We had a
gotten
90-degree day the other day, too, here as well. So.
Yeah.
And then we've been seeing pictures of people posting from campgrounds around the country where it's snowing. I was like, where is it snowing right now?
The world's turning over.
Oh, it's crazy.
I love it.
So what's the area called where you're at again? Tell me that one more time.
It's Priest Lake up in northern Idaho. It's about 20 miles from the Canadian border.
Okay.
It's very remote.
Oh, I see it. Okay. I'm cheating. I'm looking on a map.
Okay.
That is pretty high up there.
Yeah.
Wow. That looks really cool.
Let me check it out.
I'm putting it on my bucket list.
Oh my gosh, I'm really excited for you guys.
We got to see where you're at through the windows when we started our Skype call, and it looks crazy beautiful.
It does. It's
That's
amazing.
literally my view at work every day. I just like look out the window and I see mountains while I'm bartending.
It's very nice looking.
That would be
Super
beautiful.
jealous.
So you're like making
Yes,
people
you guys just have to
happy
come visit.
with all their drinks, and then you get to look out the window at a beautiful view. Like that sounds amazing. What,
I cannot believe this is my life.
like
Oh,
what's
I'm a writer too.
You're a writer too?
Yep, yeah, I'm a writer.
What do you write?
I write stories about the people I meet while traveling. I feel like every place I visit has like a little lesson. I'll be on a hike and I'll just like channel thoughts like, oh, this hike is teaching me this life lesson. Um, Hiking isn't always fun. Sometimes it's hard hiking up a mountain. So it teaches you grit, and I write about like I guess you can call it the philosophy of hiking.
So do you have a book out right now or
No, it's just a blog right now.
blog?
It's
Okay.
littlemisadventure.co with
Okay.
one S.
Okay.
I'm trying to buy littlemisadventure.com, but I'm in negotiation right now. I'm trying to figure out how much I want to spend on it. So it's littlemisadventure.co. And then I have an Instagram, Little Misadventure with one S
So these are
that
the
I just
places
started.
people can go to find out more about you.
Yes.
Littlemisadventure.co.
I can't wait to listen to that or to read that. I think it's gonna be so cool.
I'm actually writing it down.
It'll be I did too. It'll be
Yep.
we're on the trail with you. So even though
Ah,
stuck at work, we'll be on the trail with you,
Yeah.
hearing your stories.
I'm excited. I just started being brave enough to like put my writings out into the world. So there's not a lot up there yet, but there'll be more to come.
Absolutely. Good for you.
Girl, put them
Maybe you
out
should think
there.
about doing a podcast.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, I would love it. You guys are so cool.
Thank you.
people would probably
What
love
made
to.
you guys start podcasting?
Well, we like to travel, obviously, and there's a lot of people out there that get stuck, kind of like what you were talking about, where they just get stuck in their little hometown and their little ways, and they don't ever go adventure, and they don't discover that there's a whole different world out there. And we believe that through travel, that you understand the world better, and you can put yourself in people's shoes. And I think it breaks down, barriers, and you can get along with people a lot better than you would if you just sit in your own little camp. And this is how we do it, and this is the best way to do this. And you know what? There is a lot of ways to do everything, and your way is not necessarily the best way.
Yeah. And I think the coolest thing too is like all the people we've talked to through this podcast have so many different ways of travel. And it can be possible for everyone. I think people really think it's only for people who are at a certain status or whatever, but it's really possible for everyone.
Well, we could talk to 10 different backpackers, and they would tell us 10 different ways to do backpacking. And it's so cool that everybody has their own way to do things, and then you can be like, "Ooh, I like that they do that. Oh, but this guy over here, I like the way he does this," and then you can pull them all together, and then you make it your own.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
we've learned so much about like how to have the travel lifestyle just through like interviewing people about how they've changed from the 9 to 5 to the travel lifestyle, which is a goal
Yeah.
of mine one day.
So that's a lot of what we do is we try to expose people to there's a lot more things to life. There's a lot more than working, and waiting till the end of your life for retirement, and then trying to get all of your recreation in at the end of your life. There's mini retirements that you can take. So you could do little trips, maybe take off 4 months here, 6 months another part in your life, and then be able to do, more with your life and enjoy it when you're younger, and not just wait until you're, 60 years old to start actually living your life.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. I 100% agree with all of that. And I found that to be true as well.
So that's why we like to have people like you on to show that there's totally different ways to do things. And hey, you make it, you got enough money, you're living your life, and you're enjoying it, and you're not stuck in that 9 to 5 grind. And
Yep. Love it. Love
Oh,
it.
you guys are amazing. Thank you for having me.
yeah, no
No,
problem.
thank you for being on. I'm sure listeners have gotten a lot of good information out of
Yeah.
this. They're going to be on their travels next.
And after you've been traveling a
Awesome.
little more, let us know, and we'll have you back on again.
Okay, I would love that.
We love having
Tell you
repeat
more.
guests.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so we have a lot of repeat guests because then people can get to know them really well. So then you're like, oh wait, I remember this person. Then they can go back and they can listen to your first episode and be like, oh, so that you can kind of learn a little more. And it kind of gets, the listeners can get to intimately know somebody a little more.
Awesome.
Sure.
I'm excited to listen to the rest of your episodes too.
Yeah,
Awesome.
check them out.
Love it.
All right, I think that
right.
wraps us up for today.
All right.
All right, cool. I'm gonna go hang out at a bonfire.
Awesome.
All right. Sounds good.
You guys have a wonderful rest of your evening.
You too.
Thanks, Justine.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys, that was Justine Marshall. She had a ton of useful things to say.
Yeah. I can't say that Northern Idaho is anything I've been like, yeah, let me go.
Yeah, you want to check it out now, don't you?
I do. I love it. I just love her story, like going from a scientist to a bartender in order to travel.
Yeah.
How cool. I want to do that.
I looked it up on a map, and it's way up there. She's right. It's real close to Canada.
Wow.
So, but it looks beautiful because we were able to see through Skype. We were able to see where she was at. We could see like out the window behind her, and it looks amazing.
Yeah. And basically, she's got the life, right?
Right now, she does. She sure does. Yeah.
Feeding people good drinks and
Yeah.
living on a lake
Nicole likes good drinks
and legs.
and legs.
So, yeah, I love it. She has such a good story.
Yeah. Well, be sure to go check out some of the things that she suggested. Sorry, I can't talk. The Dirt, All Trails, what was it, campfires.net. I'm trying to think of a couple of the other ones. Meetup, which we use sometimes. Meetup's good. Be Welcome, coolworks.com. So she dropped a lot of knowledge on us.
Bumble if you need a shower.
Bumble if you need a shower. Right?
Don't do it for any other reason but a shower. No. And her website that's coming up, the Little M's Adventure, is going to have the blog about different people she meets on the trail. I'm pretty excited to read those
Yep.
because I
too.
think that people on the trail are usually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, check that out too.
All right. As always, please leave us a review on iTunes or anywhere else you can leave us a review. That helps us find more listeners. And if you know anybody that might be good for our show, please reach out to us at nomadictravelerpodcast@gmail.com. And if you've got any other questions or comments or anything fun to tell us, you got a trip that you'd like to tell us about, nomadictraveler@gmail.com. Oh, nomadictravelerpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
So,
Hit us up.
we love to hear from everybody. That's all we got for today.
All right. Thanks,
We'll
guys.
see you next week.